everybody. Welcome to another MoGraph podcast. I'm your host, Matt Milstead. Joining me this week, I'm super excited to have him here. It's been so long since I've seen you, like at least 45 minutes. Barton Damer from Already Been Chewed.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Matt. Great to chat with you and MoGraph.com.
Yeah.
Looking forward to what we've got going on today
Yeah,
here.
totally. First off, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Otoy, for sponsoring the show and the podcast. They are our universal sponsor. You know them, you love them. They're the makers of Octane Render and the Render Network. With Octane, you can create super photorealistic renders incredibly fast, and for those renders that need that extra little push of power, the Render Network has you covered. The Render Network allows you to render your Octane, Redshift, and Blender Cycles frames in a fraction of the time and a fraction of the cost of other cloud rendering services. We just ended the Render Royale last month, and the judging is still going on, but I got a little inside information into what the next theme is going to be. So for those who are interested, this month's theme is going to be retro sci-fi. So make sure and get those submissions into the Render Royale competition. For those who don't know, Render Royale competition is a competition that the Render Foundation is putting on every month. You basically create a 3D render, send it up to the Render Network to get your frames rendered, and then you submit it, and the winner can receive anywhere from $250 to $1,000, and it's all based on individual render engines. So you've got a whole submission for Octane, a whole submission for Redshift, and a whole submission for Blender Cycles. It's really great. Great little community event, so make sure to check it out. It's renderfoundation.com/royale. But yeah, we're here to talk to you, Barton. I wanted to.
Nice. Well, I have a question for you. Retro sci-fi. Who came up with that thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I have noticed the themes are very like generic. Like Urban Utopias was last month, you know. And so it's like retro sci-fi. I mean, retro. I'm all about the retro. But I don't know. I'm excited about that one. Part of me doesn't want to judge this month so that I can actually compete.
Let me guess. August is going to be astronauts and rainbows.
I'll hint that to them.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to start off. It's been a while since we've had you on, and since then, I wanted to wish you a happy 15th anniversary. ABC back in, was it March? Had the 15-year anniversary party.
Yeah, we did. It was a lot of fun. I know you were here, obviously, and a lot of people came in from out of town. We had right at 200 people, and that's where we capped it off. And within those 200 people, I would guesstimate probably 130 of them or more flew in from out of town. So it was pretty awesome get together.
Yeah, it was a really fun party. I didn't know how you were gonna fit that many people into the space, but yeah, it was really, really cool. And have you released? I know you guys shot like little interstitial like podcast type thing. Have you released that yet?
Yes. Yeah, that's on our YouTube. I think there's like 15 people that have watched it.
Nice. Okay. All right. I'll put it. I'll put it in the show notes.
We get like zero traction on YouTube whatsoever.
Really?
It's strange. Like for whatever reason, the Instagram algorithm seems to work well for us, but YouTube has always been kind of dead. You can go through our YouTube feed and it's like 300 views, 200 views,
Interesting.
stuff like that.
Well, I feel like Instagram's probably much more catered towards the quick little bites. And YouTube is much more long form. Unless I guess are y'all post? I'm assuming y'all are posting reels as well on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Shorts.
Yeah, shorts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know Donnie just signed up for a MoGraph.com account yesterday, so you guys officially have a MoGraph.com account that you can post on too.
Yep. Yeah. We will be on there.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start off with this, kind of a state of the industry thing. We kind of always do this with you, every time we have you on, and we've had you on with other studio owners and stuff, but like, with the advent of AI becoming much more readily available. And, it seems to me, at least earlier in the year, it had slowed down significantly. I'd love to hear your thoughts on just like overall encompassing state of the industry from your perspective.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's going really well for us right now. We're very busy. It's a great year so far. But last year was the same up until about July or August. So it was kind of an interesting swing, and that we were on track for our best year ever through the first like 7, 8 months. And then I don't know if it was election based. I have honestly no clue why, but we got really slow through the fall and into the new year, and then thankfully things picked up and got pretty slammed towards the end of January, and we're just rolling through it now as a result. But also just kind of like saving up our nuts for winter,
Yeah.
like squirrels.
Yeah.
Wondering if the same thing's going to happen where, we had an incredible year last year through the first 6, 7 months. We're having an incredible year this year through the first 6, 7 months, but it's really that last quarter that's going to make or break you as a studio. And for some reason, it was really slow going through the holidays, because we've had years where we were actually slammed and wondering if we were ruining our Christmas vacations trying to deliver massive projects in
Uh-huh.
December. So it's kind of nice to not have that pressure through the holidays.
Yeah.
But
Do
yeah,
you
we'll see how the fall goes this
do you
year.
worry, because I felt like there was a common thing every year where it's like, at least for me, I don't know how it was as a studio owner, but you would typically have January, February really slow. It would start to ramp up in March, and then you'd get really busy up until July, and then the summer would slow down a lot, and then October, November, you'd get these big like Christmas budgets or whatever. At least that's the way it was for
Hmm.
me for probably 5 or 6 years. Once COVID hit, it changed everything, and it kind of like threw a loop for everything. And I feel like we're kind of now, at least for me, the past couple of years, January and February have been really slow again, and I'm curious if you've seen that trend.
It is always changing. So the last 2 years have been way different than any years before.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes in the past we've been just completely slammed with like the end of the year money to
Yeah.
burn projects where someone hits you up on December
Mm-hmm.
5th and they've got a decent amount of money to burn before the new year, and you're scrambling to get 1 to 3 or 4 of those cranked out
Mm-hmm.
before the end of the new year. That has changed, but I think some of that's changed because of the industry changing quite a bit as well, in the sense that for us, oh, sorry about that. My phone started ringing. them.
So, that's funny. Yeah.
It was like really loud in
Right.
my headphones. um, what was I saying? Yeah.
That it was really busy, and then, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think projects in general are changing, which is why we haven't seen those end of the year kind of cash to burn projects coming to
Mm-hmm.
us, because and this might be an unusual thing, but our budgets are getting bigger and better, which might be unusual to be able to say. And so I think as a result, we may have priced ourselves out of some of those phone calls for the end of the year money, for better or worse.
Interesting. Yeah. Mark in the chat says his business really slowed down due to tariffs. And I know Mark has done a lot of like work in the sports apparel industry. Probably similar to some of the stuff that you've done. He's curious to know if you've been affected at all, because his clients don't really know how to commit to anything, and he's already had a couple of projects canceled.
We have not been affected by that at this point. but I guess I'm a little bit unfamiliar too. Like, aren't all the tariffs on pause at this point?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, I don't.
I try not to read as much, you know, uh politics and stuff as possible. I apologize for those watching the live. Good old Teams, it's doing its thing again, where it's deciding to just randomly rescale the, the thing. I bet it'll happen if you get another phone call.
Oh, what's happening? It looks normal
It
on my end.
Yeah, Teams is weird. It keeps on like resizing. It's like the NDI going into OBS. It's whatever. We dealt with it a lot
Hmm.
last week. Anyway,
Do you want me to turn my camera on and off real
no,
quick
you're
to
fine.
reset it?
Nah, that'll just mess it up
Okay.
again.
Okay.
Mark was saying he's noticed a shift away from big studios and small studios, landing in like these mid-range shops. Have you seen that?
Um, I think I could be wrong on this, so y'all in the chat correct me if I'm wrong here. But in our industry, from my perspective, it seems like there's either 50-person studios or like 4-person studios,
Yeah.
and ABC is kind of an outlier, being at that like 18
Mm-hmm.
person studio. And so uh, for us, it allows us to be nimble and change things up and steer a ship much faster than a 50-person studio. And then, of course, it allows us to have a team to be able to rely on each other and move things around. So if the one person can't quite figure it out, we've got people to help out. So for me, I really like the size that we are, but I'm not sure that we've experienced either projects shifting away for one reason or another based off of size.
Mm-hmm. Have you now? Has there been a? I know, within the past few years you brought on a couple more people who helped with bringing in some of the like more sports broadcasting stuff. Have you shifted away into or like kind of pivoted a bit in some of the work that you've done, or is it all generally about the same?
Um, that's a great question. Yeah, we have been gaining traction in sports for several years now. I think our biggest breakthrough was with the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was almost 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then since then, that has spread to other teams in the NFL. And then, of course, part of our strategy was to actually break into more sports. And so, a little over a year, probably like 15 months ago, hired an assistant creative director and live action director named Ryan Nareen. And
He's
he's
great.
had connections for years in the sports world. And so we've been entertaining more and more sports work as a result.
Yeah, and I won't talk about any of the stuff that you're currently doing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
have I have seen like, what's been cool is seeing the work like get just better and better with some of the
Mm,
sports stuff that you guys have been doing. And it's kind of a testament to like, you know, learning and growing and getting better as a
yes.
studio, and also the more experience you get with some of those clients and stuff, it's just the work is
Yeah.
stellar.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, and you've been helping us out with it. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Um, maybe has the work been extra stellar ever since we brought you on? Is that what
It's
you're
true.
suggesting?
Yes. Yeah. I think that was
Yeah, no, but
yeah,
yeah, to
because
your
now all
point,
your guys know what not to do.
yeah. I mean, we've had consistency with our team over the years, and so to your point, everyone's getting better. The chemistry is better. Everyone's learning from each other. It's as you know, being on our Discord can often feel like you're part of a college class, and you're just learning, learning,
Yeah.
learning, and don't have to get stuck with certain things. So that's definitely allowing us to get better. Um, to that point, I do think, and maybe we're not ready to shift here yet, but I will just mention it, is the productions are getting bigger and better, not only because our guys and our team are getting better, But because we are leveraging AI to flush out creative ideas that
Mm-hmm.
normally would have taken manpower, artist power, several weeks, and then you get to the end of those several weeks, and it's like the artist is frustrated because they've been asked to give them 30 different lighting styles and things
Yeah.
like this. And so AI has allowed me as a creative director to go in and I can explore hundreds of looks, like in 4 or 5 hours. I'm developing creative briefs, and then Ryan Nareen, who came on staff, he and I are bouncing ideas off of each other. We're in AI like together, and we're brainstorming things, and that leads to another idea, which leads to another idea,
Mm-hmm.
and next thing you know, we're 4 or 5 hours in, and we've got a full-fledged creative brief that we're ready to share.
Yeah, it's
And so
really.
I think some of that is taking the guesswork out of. Before, it would be like, hey, let's model this thing, let's light this thing. 5 days later, it's like, that's fine, it's good, it'll work. Like, I think the client will be happy with it. But if we could have really flushed it out and tried a bunch of things,
Mm-hmm.
so now we can kind of, as a creative director, rule things out, make some decisions, and get the artists uh, better direction, which allows our productions to be bigger and better and not have to spin the wheels and frustrate people trying a million things.
Have you found it that you have to manage client expectations when using some of these some more AI examples or anything? Or was it like, oh no, we were just grabbing off of Pinterest and references and stuff like that, so it's very similar.
Um, I would say we're in a great position for AI discussions because when we are sharing a creative brief, like, we've had clients tell us, hey, everybody's pitching us AI boards, but unlike the other people, we know you guys can pull it off because we've got a 15-year portfolio
Yeah.
of being able to pull this stuff off. So this is no longer like pitching stuff that it's like, can they pull that off? It's
Yeah.
more of a, let's streamline this process so that rather than spend production time modeling and lighting something that we may or may not use, and then we want several versions of it. It's like, no, let's get the decisions made and out of the way during that AI kind of concepting that's going on.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I mean, that's what it's nice being able to do that, because that, like, as an from an artist perspective, it's nice not having to go through and do just like, oh, this is whatever coming off the top of my head. But like, having an example, for example, you're going through doing all the creative stuff, figuring out the stuff ahead of time, and then being able to go to your artist and say, this is the brief that we showed the client, this is what we're going for, so
Yeah.
it's like, as an artist, I'm able to visualize that and think about what the process is with doing that, versus just throwing crap at the wall, being like, okay, I think this is what we want, this is what we want.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like I can go through and whether it's me or Ryan or both of us combining, we can flesh out and rule things out, hundreds of things out in a
Mm-hmm.
matter of a couple hours, and then be like, oh no, so we really like this about this image. So that's why this image is in the creative brief, is because we really like this little detail that's
Yeah.
in there. So if we move into like animation or look dev, see if we can grab this from this AI, generated
Mm-hmm.
image, these things. And so, we don't ever want to turn this into order takers and pixel pushers, but at the same time, it can be frustrating if we're not sure what we want. And so this allows us to figure out what we want before we kind of get the artist in and have them elevate it.
Yeah. Are you ever going through seeing stuff and you're like, oh no, I don't want to put my artist through that, because you think it would be like too big of an idea? Or you just, or if for you, is it always, let's put the art first, let's make the client happy, let's create some of the dopest stuff we can do?
So it's never about that. It's always about uh, what what do I know and feel that our team is capable of pulling off.
Okay.
So when I'm going into a creative brief, it's never about, well, I have this amazing idea and our guys better figure out how to pull it off, because it's never that.
Mm-hmm.
It's never that. It's always I'm coming up with something because I know that this person is really good at this and I've seen them do it on a smaller project. And
Mm-hmm.
this time around, I want them to do it bigger and better and push it further than they did on the previous project. And so there's always like things that I have this in mind for this person, and I'm assuming this person will be free to work on it. And I have this in mind for this person, knowing what their skills are. So it's more that than it is like, oh, I got this insane idea and I don't really care how we pull it off, but the producer will figure out how to get it done.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's not that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not
That I feel like in do you that's a to me that's a very that shows kind of a much more hands-on studio owner and creative
that.
director versus
Hmm.
so a previous job I had, we had the sales guy basically running, pulling all the shots and everything. And it's like that
Yeah.
became
No.
difficult in order to manage expectations and stuff. That's really cool as someone who, is a hyper aware of all the different employees that you have and knowing their strengths, knowing their weaknesses, knowing what you can pull from, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, do you think because as you were talking, you're kind of that mid-scale 18-person team, do you think
Hmm.
because you're at that scale, it makes it a whole lot easier to manage versus if you were at a 50, 100, person team, uh, it would be more like, oh yeah, we're trying to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I will often use basketball analogies.
Uh-huh.
And so I view a good creative director the same way a good basketball coach is. And so what I mean by that is, if a basketball coach puts Dennis Rodman in because he needs a 3-pointer with the last 10 seconds and the game is on the line, that's a bad basketball coach. Dennis Rodman doesn't shoot 3-pointers.
Okay.
And if the basketball coach gets frustrated with Dennis Rodman because he didn't shoot the game winning 3-pointer, he's a bad coach. He should have realized, like, you have Dennis Rodman in for defense and for rebounds. And so I believe a good creative director is like a coach. He's putting the right artists in at the right place. And if a particular artist is not pulling it off, that's either because the coach put in the wrong player or the player's having a bad night, an off shooting night. But that's how I view creative direction. And so to scale to a larger version, you would essentially need more teams with more coaches that understand that.
Interesting. Okay. Mark in the chat, he says, sorry to pepper the chat. No, Mark, please put as much as you want. Honestly, I should have had you co-host today.
We should have just just call him in. We'll do
Right.
a three-way video chat here.
He said for the briefs, how do you sell that in? Are you solving client problems or just providing high-end marketing collateral?
Um, I mean, that could be the same thing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the the problem is we have a product that no one cares about, and it needs to be seen in a way that people will think of it a certain way. And so when we put that product out there, are they thinking of it as an $80 sneaker, or are they thinking of it as a $280 sneaker? And that's part of their problem, is their marketing collateral makes it look like it should be an $80 sneaker.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can elevate the brand and the product and create something that the consumer can't unsee once they have seen it, that's where you're going to bring value to products as that relates. And then, of course, there's like the tech video side of things. If you can visualize how the technology works and share that it's a new technology, that becomes incredibly valuable to clients for multiple reasons. But some of our clients are actually coming to us a year and a half before this is due. And
Yeah.
then they're sending their salespeople out going B2B using this marketing collateral before they ever go B2C.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when it becomes really valuable, is when they feel like this is a sales tool for B2B and not just B2C.
Okay. Sunny in the chat says, "Is freelancing worthy in motion design? What's your advice for a newbie learning Houdini and wants to be self-employed?"
Um, is it worthy? Meaning, I guess, what makes you think that it wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I am somebody that was freelancing, so I would say yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting is so, and you and I have talked about this before. I freelanced for another studio 3 or 4 months ago, and they knew I've already been chewed. They knew that I had freelanced with you, and they were surprised that you don't typically bring on freelancers. I'm kind of like an outlier in that. I think it's just the fact
Yes.
that I'm only 15 minutes away makes it really convenient for you. you know but yeah, typically
No,
you don't bring on freelancers.
typically we don't bring on freelancers, and as you know, we've talked about this, but
Mm-hmm.
the chat and the audience is welcome to know this as well. Typically, we're freelancing with somebody in hopes to hire them on full time,
Mm-hmm.
and so we wanted to hire you on full time, and then, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, right as we were getting ready to hire you, things got really, really slow.
Yeah.
And so you and I chatted, and I was like, hey, I got to pause on this because I can't hire you full time and then pay you to do tutorials, and you're feeling uncomfortable as well because you just came on board.
Mm-hmm.
But this might be 3 months or so before things pick up after the new year. So yeah, the intent is and was to work with you full time. And so that's typically how we do it, because like I used the basketball analogy, I want to know who I'm putting in the game and when I'm putting them in the game,
Mm-hmm.
so that I know if they're a 3-point shooter or if they're a rebounder or a defensive player, because I want to know that when we bring that person on board, we're not putting them outside of their area of expertise.
Yeah.
It is much easier for me as business owner to find the right person and invest in them and invest in our time together, hoping that it's a long-term business relationship. That's an easier pill to swallow than you get 5 6 days, 2 weeks into working with a freelancer and you have nothing usable,
Yeah.
and you've paid them a day rate, that you just, even though that's a much smaller amount than like a year-long salary, it just burns to know, like, I got nothing
Yeah.
usable out of this person the last 3 days,
Yeah.
and just the cha-ching, cha-ching. Whereas if it's somebody that you bring on full time, even Steph Curry misses 6 out of 10 basketball or 3 pointers.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got a full time person over the course of the year, it's going to even out and it's going to be less stressful because they're going to hit that shot when you need them to hit that shot.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. What is it that you're looking for when you're looking to hire someone? Like, are you do you find like, oh, I'm missing this in my team, like I need someone who can do this really well? Or are you looking for a more overall generalist who can handle many hats or do many things?
Um, I mean, that's a two-part answer. I
Sure.
think generalist is probably the right place to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult if you're an expert on, you know, water sims. It's going to be challenging to find work that's not water sims.
Yeah.
So to a certain degree, being a generalist, it's it's a world that we live in, that the software makes it so that someone's capable of doing a lot more than just a single task.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. You know, you had somebody and their only job was compositing, or their only job was being a colorist, things like that. And that's that's rare these days, in my opinion. Um, what was the other part of that?
just what do you look for in someone that you're hiring? You know, like
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
looking specifically to fill a role? You know.
yeah. It's typically adapting to emerging technologies, right? So sometimes it's like, ooh, we're all Cinema 4D artists, and Houdini is all the fun, cool stuff. Let's see if we could start adding Houdini into our pipeline, and obviously we were kind of early to that train, and
Mm-hmm.
and brought on Mark Fancher
Mm-hmm.
9 years ago now,
Yeah.
and our Houdini department is outgrown our Cinem 4D department. I
Yep.
think we only have one person on staff that does mainly Cinema 4D.
Uh-huh.
Everybody else is Houdini these days. And so uh, at one point it was Unreal, and it was like, ooh, like, I can only expect our guys who are amazing at Houdini or amazing at Cinema 4D to learn so much. We try to learn some Unreal, do
Yeah.
some things in Unreal, but uh, you know, we brought on Brandon Clements for a while, and
Mm-hmm.
he was helping us learn Unreal, and so that was a strategic move there. And then a lot of it's always motivated creatively. And so I mentioned Ryan Noreen
Mm-hmm.
earlier, who's our assistant creative director and live action director. For years I've wanted to be able to tell these stories behind brands and products
Mm-hmm.
and use humans. And we haven't been able to use humans in anything. And it's very difficult to
Uh-huh.
tell stories without humans. And we've done live action in the past, and I've directed those things, whether it be for sports teams or for product commercials. But it's not my favorite thing, being on
Mm-hmm.
set and directing. I don't love that, and I'm very critical as to what footage we come away with, and I
Mm-hmm.
never felt like what I was directing on set was kind of worthy of what we were going to do in CG, and it just felt like we were polishing a turd
Sure.
from the video shoot,
Uh-huh.
you know. And so that was something that Ryan brought to the table, was being able to add live action to what we do. And so, to your earlier point, if you're seeing the combination of live action and CG, that would explain why things feel bigger,
Mm-hmm.
bigger budget, maybe more polished, is
Yeah.
because we are able to combine high quality live action with CG, whereas in the past it's been primarily CG with just some, yeah, it was okay footage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I gotta say, some studios they'll get typecast for like only doing one thing. Like
Yeah,
you'll have some that are, oh, we just typically do Marvel movies, or we only do UI UX. But really, there's not one particular like thing or brand type that ABC does. It's like, yes, you guys do a lot of sneakers, you do a lot of watches, but you also do
yeah,
sports stuff and high-end luxury brands, And
yes.
how do you keep from getting typecast as one particular brand style? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're different things to different people. So over the years, some people, brands view us as the sneaker company that
Mm-hmm.
animates all the sneakers. Other people will say we're like that Houdini studio that does all the cool macro shots
Yeah.
and things like that. And so that's always been the case, even earlier on, like really early on when I was a freelancer. Like for some brands, I was a digital artist and they would hit me up to create key visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And to other brands, I was a hot motion graphics animator, and I was developing their full campaigns and spots,
Mm-hmm.
So to certain people and to certain brands, you are going to be viewed as one thing or another. But if you can branch into something different successfully, no one's going to hold that against you. So like, you would think that would be a big stumbling block moving into live action, where people would say, oh, well, you guys are like the sneaker company, you don't
Yeah.
work with live action. But you come out swinging with Atlanta Hawks project, the Tampa Bay Lightning project, or even the PFL, and no one questions if you are doing live action or not, or if
Mm-hmm.
you're capable of it. And you can kind of break down those barriers and those categories that you get pigeonholed into.
Yeah. How do you separate yourself, or how do you convince a high-end luxury brand like say Louis Vuitton that you guys have done work for, if they may only know you as doing, sneaker stuff? How do you convince them that
Yeah,
it's like, "Oh no, we understand what you're going for. We understand we can deliver a high-end luxury brand, spot for
yeah.
you."
It goes both ways. I think sometimes people hit us up, and this was more so in the earlier days. But people would hit us up, and they would want us to do something and feel super excited about it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, you think we're capable of doing this?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And it was just kind of amazing, like some of the projects that we would have opportunities to work on that, like, we have nothing like this in our portfolio. I have
Interesting.
no idea. But to me, it was never like a, well, we don't do that. It was like, sick, like, I'm tired of doing a sneaker spot. I want to try something new and push ourselves in this way. um and so I think that was more of my excitement as we grow, and ADD, as far as not wanting to do stuff the same or over and over,
Uh-huh.
and just loving all the different industries. And that's something that I think keeps us busy and keeps us interested in what we do, so that it's not like, 15 years into this, it's like, we only do this, or we only do that. Like, we are only working on sports graphics or anything like that. It's like, no, one day you're going to be working on a Lancome fragrance spot
Mm-hmm.
in Houdini where you're simulating water and liquids and things like that. Next day, you're going to be working on an NFL team project, and next day after that, you might be working on a Nike sneaker release.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And that's the thing that I appreciate about you as a studio. I mean, for those who don't know, Already Been Chewed, we asked you about this like the very first like time we ever had you on. It's a reference to skate tricks, right? Like
Yeah,
you wanted to do something
yeah,
that was new, that would hadn't been chewed, or wasn't already chewed, right? you know and I,
yes,
I like that you kind of bring that, that philosophy over to the way you run your business and the way that you create work.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And uh, I think that shows in our portfolio too, and that's something that we highlight as a strength of ours in working with us, is that we're not pigeonholed into one specific style or target audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I'd love to chat about the because you've significantly moved over to a Houdini pipeline from
Yes,
say 5-10 years ago. 10 years ago is probably mostly C4D, but you've moved over
yes,
to a mainly C4D pipeline, but you're also using Maya and Blender and C4D and all these different tools within the
yes,
pipeline. Just all your different people are using different tools, which I
yes,
think is
yeah,
very interesting because for some other studios you'll have the C4D people on one side and the Maya people on the other side, and they never talk to each other, right? You know, or
yeah.
you'll have like people who are using Blender over here. But for me, I've always found it interesting that like it's almost you're engine agnostic, where it's like
Yes,
whatever gets the job done.
yes, yeah, and it doesn't happen that way overnight. So at one point, we were all 740 artists,
Mm-hmm.
and then you start branching out, bringing people on, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, I work in Cinema 4D, but I started in Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Or I work in Cinema 4D, but I started in Blender, or 3ds Max, things like that. And so the more people you start to add to the team, the more it removes a little bit of the mystery and kind of fear of
Mm-hmm.
like, bringing in another software to the pipeline. And it's like, okay, no, this person like actually knows Maya and actually knows Cinema 4D. So when it's time to do something that requires Maya, we can do that in Maya, export it over to Cinema 4D as needed. Same with like Blender and some of the other programs that we're working with.
Yeah. And I appreciate that there's not the like there's a stigma sometimes, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago with Elijah Sheffield. We were talking Blender stuff, and there was a stigma for a long time about Blender because it's free and stuff like that. Oh, it's not real. You're not paying for it. Blah blah blah. But it's like
Yeah.
some of the best modeling I've ever seen has come from your guys out of Blender.
Yeah, our guys actually love modeling inside of Blender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like that because there's so many different so many different softwares going on and so many different people that have a great knowledge base. It's like, okay, I need to know how to do this in Houdini, or I need to know how to do this in C4D or whatever. And because there's such a wide variety of software being used, it's like you're never stuck Googling. You just hop on Discord. The team just hops on Discord. Hey, how do I do this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great because we're in a place now where it doesn't matter. Like if you want it in Houdini, cool. You
Mm-hmm.
want it in Cinema 4D, cool. You want it in Unreal, cool. They're just creating it in a way, from the beginning of the project so that there aren't going to be issues later.
Yeah. Yeah. Thoughts on AI? I
Yeah.
know you're using it, and actually I've talked about this a few times on the show where I really like the way you use it, where it's like
Hmm.
you'll either take a still frame from a shoot,
Hmm.
and or you'll take a already generated image and then draw on it and have ChatGPT do the thing that you want it to
Yeah.
do, and I
Yeah.
like that. I like that a lot. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on the future as, say, a studio owner, incorporating it much more, or is it going to hurt your business?
I mean, that's to be determined. I
Yeah.
think you'd be foolish to think that it can't hurt your business. I think what you're going to see is you're going to see some of those medium level clients that are going to be like, oh, can't we just do something with AI for like 5, 10 grand? And that's going to happen. We actually experienced that probably prematurely. We had a client that's a large client, and a couple years ago, they kept wanting us to do, can't you just do something AI? Can't you just do something AI? And they would point to some of their competitors' Instagram feeds and things like that. And we had to have a talk with them and just say, look, your competitors are actually coming to us wanting what we do for you. And you're telling us you want the crap that they're putting out.
Yeah.
And so just so you know, these are conversations where they wish they could get and figure out how to do the content that we're creating for you. So it's a little strange that you're wishing you could put out more and crappier content that they're not satisfied with on their own feed.
That's funny.
So we had that conversation with them, and we didn't hear from them for about a year and a half. um, but no, then they came back about a year and a half later, and they had multiple projects, and each project was 6 figures. So somebody's head rolled for trying to incorporate some crappy AI
Mm-hmm.
into their $1 billion brand. So that's a fun kind of win story, if you will. Doesn't mean that they're all going to be that way. I do think that AI is going to be used in final products and final videos that go out. From an ABC perspective, we keep teasing it and trying it here and there. And for the most part, it's like, that just doesn't live up to the quality of the rest of this
Mm-hmm.
video. Like, let's just replace this AI clip. But I do think that, over time, if we are getting some final AI clips that are making it, we won't be announcing that. You
Yeah.
just won't know. You'll never know. And it doesn't matter. that's how I view it. Is like at the end of the day, the client is coming to us to solve that problem that we talked about earlier. How we solve it does not matter one bit.
Mm-hmm.
It could be solved with Cinema 4D. It could be solved with Blender. It could be solved with Unreal. It could be solved with Houdini.
Mm-hmm.
It could be solved with AI. Maybe it's all of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But what you put out is a reflection of your work.
Yeah.
So if you are generating some AI stuff and it's pretty obvious and it doesn't look good, um, yeah, it's a reflection of you and your work and what you're willing to put out there.
Do you think brands are? Do you think studios are going to run into the situation where brands are wanting or are having lower budgets because of AI, or do you think
Of
big
course. Yeah,
brands
absolutely.
are going
Mm-hmm.
to specifically not use AI? Is it going to be more of like a draw, like, oh no, we did this all without AI? Like, is that this is premium because we had someone create everything? It's all custom,
Uh,
you know?
if if only we were that special to brands. We aren't.
Okay.
um, no, you know what I mean? Like, uh, Tim Cook does not care how you created the spot that promotes his next iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's not on his list of concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, does it work? Did it elevate his brand? Did it help move products? That's all that matters. And I think right now there's mixed feelings on AI. So we'll talk to some brands and they're like, "Oh my gosh, AI is like no, it's like
Mm-hmm.
they hate it, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to be honest, comforting
Yeah.
to hear that. But then we recently had a massive brand that hit us up and they specifically asked, "Hey, you guys are incredible and have a unique vision for what you do. We want to pay you to explore some AI concepts and just see what's possible."
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the Wild West. Nobody's totally sure what is possible right now and what's going to be good enough for a final cut or what's only going to be good enough for a creative brief.
Yeah.
And so that was encouraging that because we do have a long-standing relationship, not relationship, well, yeah, relationship, but reputation is more the word that I was looking for, and portfolio. Those who understand get it. Like it wasn't about whether or not we were using Cinema 4D or Houdini. It
Mm-hmm.
was about the end thing that left
Yeah.
and got sent in a link,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so just having that client reinforce that as far as like we're excited about you and what you do for our brand and we want to pay you guys to see what you can do with some of this new AI technology.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And so did that end up becoming a video that was, used, or was it just more
Yes,
explorations?
it was used and we have not posted it.
Okay.
I personally didn't feel like it met what we did.
Uh-huh.
So we were running simultaneously. We were doing traditional animation using Cinema 4D
Uh-huh.
and Houdini, and then we had prompted some other things, and they were good. They were really good, but I didn't feel like they were good enough to jump into that online
For
reputation
sure.
buster dumpster fire.
Right. I gotcha.
so so if and when we sneak some AI stuff into projects that make it online, one, you'll never know, and two, hopefully you'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Yeah. So on that same note, Mark, I see your question. I'm going to get to it. But along that same note, I think Joey Cornman a few years ago at Half Res was like right when AI video stuff was coming out, and it was quite terrible at the time. I want to say he pointed out that the people who are going to be really successful in the AI industry or using AI a lot in their work are going to be people who have a understanding of, like, say, shot composition or art history or something like that. Do you think, as a creative director, you being in that creative director and understanding that whole background of how that works and how production works and what makes a good shot, do you think that would be a better avenue for someone to go into in order to incorporate AI as like their main focus? Or would you suggest for someone to focus on the fundamentals of learning C4D or Houdini or something like that?
Right. I mean, you kind of have to have a background in all of that stuff no matter what you do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for instance, in Cinema 4D, if you understand photography,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be a better Cinema 4D artist.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to understand aperture, you're going to understand shutter speed. Uh, you need to understand real world lighting from
Mm-hmm.
photography class or videography class. So you have to understand lighting. You have to understand set design. Like there's all kinds of real world skills that you have to have in order to be good at 3D animation. Um, Even, like magic is something that makes you good at motion design too.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding sleight of hand and the way
Mm-hmm.
a magician can shuffle cards, things like that. That helps you hide and do trickery in your motion graphics and things like that. So those skill sets, I think, are super, super valuable when you go to start prompting things.
Yeah.
Because if you can understand the lighting style, the camera settings that you want, uh, it will mimic those things, but you have to know what to tell it to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you back to being a generalist, like you kind of got to know a little bit about all of those things so that you can prompt it the way that you want it to be prompted.
Yeah. And Dave said sometimes it's fun to just sit and try to art direct things like Mid-Journey Video just to see how it responds and how far you can take it. Uh,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
Do you find when you're creating creative briefs or something like that for a client, sometimes you're just having fun?
Oh, it's super fun.
Yeah.
And it leads to the idea that leads to the idea that leads to the final idea.
Mm-hmm.
And you can and that's what I was mentioning earlier, is like that that process usually gets cut way short because of the time and the frustration that it
Mm-hmm.
might be if you were asking artists to, well, let's try this, let's redo that, let's do this instead. But if you can explore those things and get some of those decisions in your own mind knocked out and figured out, then you can actually go to a team with some real direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark's
But
question.
yeah, I'm in all the different AI softwares. I'm in Midjourney,
You got
like you
subscription.
mentioned
You
it
got like
before.
$10,000 in subscriptions to all the different.
We need a dog pile for AI. I don't know if you remember
I
dogpile.com
don't
from
know.
back in the day.
Uh.
Like this is early 2000s. Dogpile.com it was a search engine that would search all the other search engines.
Ah.
And so it would search Google, it would search whatever else, AOL,
Uh huh.
things like that. So imagine an interface where you type your prompt and then you just shoot it to everything that you have
Ah.
subscriptions to, and all the results come back in one window.
Yeah. All right. All
We
right.
need that. That's a multi-billion-dollar idea for somebody.
Have you, okay, so a lot of the stuff, and I would love to know your thoughts on this, because I know that it's not really incorporated, but a couple of artists at the studio have messed with a more localized version of some of the AI stuff, like using Comfy AI and using workflows and stuff versus going through a service to do that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because like what I thought would be cool, we were talking to we were talking to Byron last week about like this whole deep dive on AI, and for those who haven't seen it, I recommend going back and check it out. But have you considered creating almost your own AI like fed off of all the work that you guys have done and being able to pull references based off of similar, like basically creating a machine learning of all the work that you've done and then being able to prompt from there. And so it's basically ABC style. Or is that too chewed? Is that too chewed?
uh, I mean, that's honestly it. I would never want to train it and just be like, do this based off of stuff we've done before. It's always about doing something new and different.
Yeah.
And so the ability to get into an AI situation software and explore and come up with new looks and things like that, that's what's going to cause us to evolve. Like if I just trained it off of our old work, it's just going to look like our old work. I'm past that.
Yeah.
I'm over it. I don't care about that project anymore. I want to do something new that's stimulating and exciting.
It's that
and pushes
ADHD
us
brain.
in a new direction. Totally.
Yeah.
But I mean, I claim it as a superpower.
Yeah.
I think that's what has allowed us to do the things that we do is in such a variety of ways. Because I'm not the kind of person that just wants to phone it in and let's just do this. This is what we do. We do these things. It's like, no, let's not do it the same as we've already done this before. How can we do it slightly different that we're going to be more excited about it this time than we were the first time we had to do this.
Yeah. Okay, last question, because I got to get back to work. You got deadlines I got to hit. But Mark's question in the chat, it's for ABC and your clients, what defines a successful project? Sales of the project, views on social. Does your client come to you with a specific metric goal?
Mm-hmm. The short and sassy part of the answer is all of those things define the success of it, right? So sometimes there's certain projects where the magnitude of the project is what makes it feel successful. So it might not be our best work, but it's what the client wanted. And, it went viral. Or, it was in Times Square. Or, this was in the front of every single store across the globe. Is it the best thing we could have ever done? No, but does that start to inch it up and make it one of our favorites because of the magnitude of it? Sure.
Yeah.
And then because of the success of it, there's certain things where it's like, I feel like there's definitely projects where I feel like are our best projects, but they didn't go as viral. And then we have some projects that went super viral, and it's like, well, that's cool, but have you seen these other ones?
Yeah, right. That's funny.
But yeah, from the client's perspective, there's a variety of things. One, does it make them look good? Does the brand feel proud about what they put out? And that goes back to the brand that I mentioned before. They started getting cheaper and cheaper and wanting like, hey, can you do something AI? And clearly that was the wrong direction for that brand because they did a quick 180 and then came back, and they came back with larger budgets than they've ever had before, even though they were trying to go cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So they realized that something in the presentation of their brand was compromised. And so there's value in that form of it. And so that makes it successful when a client actually sees that and realizes it. But, there's clients where you do a high quality level of work and they don't value it and they don't appreciate it, or they dumb it down, or they cut it, or things like that. And so creatively you felt like it was going to be successful, but for whatever reason they didn't feel like it was successful. So there's going to be a variety of factors on their end that make it successful as well. And just to be totally honest, it's like sometimes the success of the project is because their boss thinks they're awesome now.
All right. How much marketing is involved, like with a specific brand? Are you having to work with like straight with marketing teams, or are you working with creative teams only on that marketing team, or are you having to help them develop a marketing strategy for that video?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Just depends on the
It's all of the
scenario
above.
and the client. Yeah, it really is. Like sometimes they literally are like, hey, we have a product launching in 3 months. Um, these are the things that we need to showcase. How would you guys pull this off? And yeah, and that can be that's honestly the best case scenario, because then they don't have tons and tons of ideas.
Yeah.
And then answering Cody's question, you need about 220 grams of protein per day in order to be a good motion designer.
I have never felt so out of shape than coming and freelancing with you. Because everyone is just like ripped and good looking, and I'm like over here a troll had to get on Ozempic just so I could, match the good quality, that ABC's bringing. So, and on that note, Barton, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's always great wisdom and great to have you here. And thanks everyone for joining. Barton, where can everyone find you on all the socials and stuff?
At Already Been Chewed or at Barton Damer.
Yeah, if you want more of the thirst traps, follow at Barton Damer, because those are nice. But yeah,
I appreciate that, Matt. Thanks for noticing.
I told Amy, my wife, I told her yesterday that I love anytime there's like a dude thirst trap. Anytime someone posts something, I will always comment on it or like throw some like heart eye emojis or something. We got to lift ourselves up,
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. Make sure to follow us on all the socials, especially YouTube and Twitch. We've been doing our weekly MoGraph hangouts. We're doing more MoGraphy, fun modeling stuff. We've been doing that for the past couple of weeks. We'll probably continue on with that. Those are Thursday nights at 7:30, and we've got a ton of fun guests next week. We've got Casey Hupke, then we've got Jake in Motion. Lots of really fun guests coming up. And also, if you haven't done it already, make sure, like Already Been Chewed did yesterday, you sign up for your very own MoGraph.com account. It's a one-stop shop for everything a motion designer needs. You showcase your demo reel, projects you've worked on, post jobs, apply for jobs, sell your digital goods, find meetup groups, or start one of your own, and so much more is planned. We're super excited to do that. And we are a artist-first site, and we will not feed your work to the AI. So start posting on MoGraph.com. Barton, thanks so much for coming.
AI can have it and train off of it, because I'm on to something else.
There you go. All right. Until next week, I'm Matt, and you are Barton Damer from Already Been Chewed. I gotta stop doing that. No one gets it. No one sees it. Anyway, all right. Later, yo. Where's my ending?
Later. Thanks for having me.
Where's my ending? There we go.
Pretty good, I guess.